The text arrived 3 days before Christmas. Family gathering Sunday. Adults only. No losers. My sister added a laughing emoji. They thought I'd cry. They thought I'd beg. Instead, I smiled, opened my laptop, and began the most satisfying 48 hours of my life. If you've ever been the black sheep, the one they underestimated, the one they laughed at until you proved them all wrong, this story is for you. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, and leave a comment where you are watching from, because by the end of this story, you'll understand why silence is the deadliest weapon. I'm Amara. 32 years old, child psychologist, and apparently the family embarrassment. Growing up, I was the odd one. While my sister Fatima glided through life with perfect grades and even more perfect boyfriends, I spent my teenage years in therapy myself, struggling with anxiety, barely scraping through school. My brother Khalil became a corporate lawyer before he turned 28. My cousin Zainab married a German businessman and moved to a mansion in Munich. Me. I chose psychology. I chose to work with traumatized children in underfunded clinics. I chose a career that paid enough to survive but would never buy me the designer bags my mother collected like trophies. When are you going to do something real with your life? My father, Omar, would ask every Sunday dinner, his voice heavy with disappointment. My mother, Layla, would just sigh and change the subject like I was a problem too exhausting to solve. The worst part wasn't the words. It was the silence that followed. That thick, suffocating quiet where everyone agreed without saying anything at all. Fatima lived 4 blocks from our parents in a pristine townhouse her tech executive husband bought in cash. She hosted wine nights, posted aesthetic family photos, and somehow always knew exactly what to say to make me feel small without ever raising her voice. "Still at that little clinic?" she'd ask, swirling her glass. "That's so noble." Noble. The word tasted like poison wrapped in sugar. Khalil was worse in his own way. He didn't mock me, he ignored me. At family gatherings, he'd talk business, investments, market trends, his eyes sliding past me like I was furniture. Once, I tried to share a breakthrough I'd had with a patient, a 6-year-old boy who finally spoke after months of selective mutism. Khalil nodded, checked his phone, and turned to our father. "Speaking of investments, Dad, I found a property you should look at." I stopped talking after that. Zainab only showed up twice a year, but she made each visit count. She'd arrive in her Mercedes, her daughter dressed like a tiny catalog model, and spend the entire time talking about her life in Europe. "You should visit, Amara," she'd say, though we both knew there was no invitation in those words. For years I told myself it didn't matter. I had my work. I had my tiny apartment with plants on every windowsill and a cat named Rumi who didn't care about my salary. I had kids who hugged me when they finally felt safe enough to cry. But family was supposed to matter. And every single gathering reminded me that to them I didn't. This year they planned Christmas at my parents' house. The big one. Extended family, catered food, a tree so tall it touched the ceiling. I'd helped plan it actually. Suggested the caterer, offered to bring dessert, even volunteered to help set up. That's when the text came. I was in session with a 7-year-old named Amani, a girl who'd witnessed domestic violence and hadn't smiled in 6 months. We were drawing together and she just added a son to her picture for the first time, a breakthrough that made my chest tight with pride. My phone buzzed. Fatima's name lit up the screen. Family gathering Sunday. Adults only. No losers. Don't embarrass yourself by showing up. Below it, a group chat. Khalil had liked the message. Zainab replied with a crying laughing emoji. My mother wrote, "Let's keep it elegant this year." My father said nothing, which meant he agreed. I stared at the screen until Amani touched my hand. "Miss Amara? Are you okay?" I smiled, the mask I'd worn my whole life sliding back into place. "I'm perfect, sweetheart. Look at your beautiful son." But inside something cracked. Not broke, cracked. Like ice before it shatters. That night, I sat in my apartment with Rumi purring on my lap and reread the message 20 times. Each time the words cut deeper. Loser. I'd spent 15 years earning degrees, certifications, learning how to help children piece their shattered minds back together. I'd held kids through panic attacks, celebrated every tiny victory, worked 70-hour weeks because the clinic was always understaffed and the need was always desperate. And to them I was a loser. I didn't cry. Crying was what they expected. Instead, I opened my laptop and started searching. Not for revenge yet, just information. I needed to understand exactly what I was dealing with. Fatima's Instagram was public. Perfect family photos. Her husband Dimitri smiling beside her, their home decorated like a magazine spread. But I noticed something in the timestamps. Photos posted at 2 a.m. captions about blessed life. On the same days her face looked exhausted in the backgrounds of other people's posts. Khalil's LinkedIn was pristine. Senior partner at a prestigious firm. But I remembered something from last year's dinner. He'd mentioned a case, something about a client dispute. I searched public records. There it was. A formal complaint filed against him for mishandling funds. Dismissed but documented. Zainab's Facebook showed her glamorous life in Munich. But there were gaps. Months where she posted nothing, then sudden bursts of activity. And her husband, I found his business registration. The company had been liquidated 8 months ago. I wasn't looking for dirt yet. I was just looking. But the more I looked, the more I saw the cracks in their perfect facades. And then I found it. The Christmas Fund. Every year my parents asked each of us to contribute to the family Christmas celebration. Fatima and Khalil always paid the most. Zainab sent money from Germany. And me, I contributed what I could, usually around $300. This year I'd sent $500. It was my grocery money for 2 weeks, but I'd wanted to help make it special. I checked my bank records. The payment had been sent November 28th. Then I checked the family email thread I'd been copied on months ago, before they decided I was a loser worth excluding. My mother had budgeted everything. Catering, decorations, gifts. Total cost, $4,000. She'd written, each family contributes equally. But here's what I noticed. Fatima had replied, we'll handle the catering, $1,800. Khalil wrote, I'll cover decorations, $1,200. Zainab, sending €500 for miscellaneous. That left about $500. My contribution. For a party I was now banned from attending. I sat back, the glow of my laptop screen casting shadows across my face. Rumi meowed softly, sensing my tension. They took my money, I whispered to the empty room, and then called me a loser. That's when the crack became a break. And that's when I started planning. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind racing through possibilities. The hurt was still there, sharp and deep, but underneath it was something else. Something cold and clear. They'd underestimated me my entire life. They saw a struggling psychologist with a modest apartment and assumed I had nothing to offer. What they didn't see was that my job had taught me the most valuable skill of all. Understanding people. I knew exactly how to hurt someone without ever raising my voice. The next morning I called in sick to work. The first time in 3 years. I made coffee, fed Rumi and sat down with a notebook. At the top of the page I wrote, Christmas revenge. Then I crossed it out. Too harsh. Too obvious. Instead I wrote, Christmas gift. Step 1. I needed information. Real information, not just social media scraps. I started with Fatima. We hadn't been close in years, but we'd been close once when we were kids. I knew her patterns, her weaknesses. Fatima's greatest fear had always been being ordinary. She needed to be seen as perfect. The perfect wife, the perfect home, the perfect life. I scrolled through her recent posts again, this time taking notes. 3 weeks ago she'd posted about Dimitri's promotion. But when I searched his company's website, his title hadn't changed. 2 months ago she'd posted about their weekend getaway to the coast. But I remembered her mentioning at the last family dinner that Dimitri had been working weekends. Something wasn't right. I did something I'm not proud of. I called the clinic where I'd done my residency and asked about a mutual friend of Fatima's. A woman named Hannah who'd been her college roommate. Hannah was now a social worker and we'd overlapped briefly years ago. Hannah. It's Amara. Omar's daughter. I know this is random, but I was thinking about Fatima and wondered how she's doing. Do you two still keep in touch? Hannah hesitated. Sometimes. Why? Just curious. She seems so perfect these days. I was wondering if she ever, struggles with anything. I feel like I don't really know my own sister anymore. There was a long pause. Then quietly, she called me last month. He was crying. Something about Dimitri and money problems. She didn't give me details, but she sounded desperate. I tried to follow up, but she never responded. My heart beat faster. Money problems? That's all she said. But Amara, please don't tell her I told you. She made me promise not to say anything. I won't, I lied. Thank you, Hannah. Money problems. Fatima, who posted pictures of designer bags and luxury vacations, was having money problems. Next I focused on Khalil. The complaint I'd found was dismissed, but complaints don't appear from nowhere. I spent hours digging through legal databases until I found the original filing. A client had accused him of overbilling and creating unnecessary work to inflate fees. The firm had settled quietly, paying back $50,000. $50,000. That was a career-ending scandal if it went public. Zainab was harder. She lived in Germany and I didn't have many connections there. But I did have Facebook. I sent a friend request to her husband's business partner, a man named Johannes who'd been tagged in several old photos. He accepted within an hour. I waited a day, then sent a casual message. Hi. I'm Zainab's cousin. Just wanted to reach out since I saw you worked with Stefan. Hope you're doing well. Johannes replied immediately. Ah yes. How is Zainab? I haven't heard from them since the business closed. Tough situation. I played dumb. Oh, I think she's doing great. She always posts about how well things are going. That's good to hear, he wrote. Stefan took the closure pretty hard. Losing that much money is never easy. I'm sure, I typed, my fingers trembling slightly. But I'm glad they're bouncing back. He didn't respond after that. But I had what I needed. Stefan's business had failed. They'd lost money. And Zainab was pretending everything was fine. Now I had the pieces. But I needed a plan. The thing about revenge is that it can't look like revenge. It has to look like truth revealing itself naturally. It has to feel inevitable, like the universe itself decided to balance the scales. I opened a new document on my laptop and started typing. Dear family, thank you for the Christmas invitation, and for the clarification that it's for adults only, no losers. I appreciate the honesty. I've been reflecting on what it means to be an adult in this family, and I think it's important we're all honest with each other this holiday season. Since I won't be attending, I wanted to contribute something meaningful instead. The truth. I stopped. Too aggressive and too obvious. I deleted it. I started again. Dear family, I received Fatima's message about Christmas. While I'm hurt by the exclusion, I understand that family gatherings should be for those who have their lives together. In the spirit of honesty and adult conversation, I thought I'd share some reflections on what success really means. Better. But still not quite right. I spent the entire day drafting and redrafting. It had to be perfect, not cruel but truthful. Not vindictive but revealing. By evening I had it. But I still needed one more thing. Timing. I couldn't send it too early, or they'd have time to prepare, to spin the narrative, to blame me. I couldn't send it too late or the impact would be lost. It had to arrive exactly when it would cause the most disruption. Christmas Eve. When everyone would be together, preparing for the celebration. When emotions were high and defenses were low. I saved the document and closed my laptop. My hands were shaking. Part of me felt sick. This wasn't who I'd ever wanted to be. But another part, the part that had been called a loser by the people who were supposed to love me, felt calm. I fed Rumi, poured myself tea and tried to read. But my mind kept circling back to the message. To Fatima's laughing emoji. To my mother's, let's keep it elegant response. To my father's silence. That night I dreamed about Christmas mornings when I was little. Before Fatima became perfect. Before Khalil became cold. Before Zainab moved away. We'd wake up early, sneak downstairs, shake the presents under the tree. My father would make his terrible coffee and pretend to be grumpy while my mother laughed. When did it change? When did I become the one who didn't fit? I woke up at 3 a.m. heart pounding. Rumi was curled against my chest, purring steadily. I stroked his fur and whispered, "Am I a bad person?" He blinked slowly, which I took as a no. The next 2 days passed in a strange haze. I went to work, saw my patients, smiled and nodded through sessions. But inside I was counting down hours. On the morning of Christmas Eve, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open and my finger hovering over the send button. This was it. Once I did this, there was no taking it back. I thought about Amani, the little girl who'd drawn a sun. I thought about all the children I'd helped, all the tiny victories I'd celebrated. I thought about my tiny apartment and my second-hand furniture and my rescue cat. And then I thought about that text message. No losers. I hit send. The email went to everyone. My parents, Fatima, Khalil and Zainab. Every aunt, uncle and cousin on the guest list. 43 people total. The subject line read, "A Christmas reflection on family and success." The body began simply. "Dear family, I want to thank you for teaching me what really matters this Christmas season. Your recent message clarified that our family values success above all else, and that those of us who haven't achieved the right kind of success, financial wealth, prestigious careers, perfect families, don't belong at the celebration. I've spent the past few days reflecting on what it means to be successful, and I realized I owe you all some honesty. Not as revenge but as a gift. Because families should be honest with each other, shouldn't they?" Then came the carefully researched, meticulously worded truths. "Fatima, I'm so proud of the life you've built. Your Instagram shows such a beautiful home and happy marriage. I recently spoke with Hannah, though, and she mentioned you'd reached out to her in distress about financial struggles. I hope you know that asking for help isn't weakness, it's courage. Pretending everything is perfect when you're drowning is what actually makes someone a loser. If you and Dimitri are struggling, please let us help. Family is supposed to support each other, remember?" I'd been careful with the wording. Nothing accusatory, everything concerned. But everyone reading would see the crack in her perfect facade. "Khalil, your legal career is impressive. I saw the complaint filed against you last year. The one about overbilling that cost the firm $50,000 in settlement fees. I know it was dismissed, but I also know how much something like that weighs on a person. If you're dealing with that stress, we should talk about it. Mental health matters even for successful lawyers." Again, concern masquerading as care. But everyone would now know about the complaint. "Zainab, your life in Germany seems wonderful. I was sad to hear through social media connections that Stefan's business closed and you lost significant money. That must be devastating. I hope you're not pretending everything is fine just to maintain appearances. Pride can be such a burden." For each of them, I'd wrapped the truth in concern. I hadn't lied. I hadn't exaggerated. I'd simply said the quiet parts out loud. Then I addressed my parents. "Mom and Dad, I want to thank you for the $500 I contributed to this Christmas celebration. I know it's not as much as Fatima or Khalil gave, but it represented 2 weeks of groceries for me. I sacrificed that because I believed in family. I believed that belonging wasn't about money but about love. I was wrong. You taught me that in this family worth is measured in dollars and job titles. By that measure, I'm a loser. I'm a child psychologist who works with traumatized kids in an underfunded clinic. I make $52,000 a year. I rent a 1-bedroom apartment. I drive a 12-year-old Honda. But here's what I've learned. I'm not the loser. The losers are the people who measure human worth by bank accounts. The losers are parents who taught their children that money matters more than kindness. The losers are families who exclude someone and then take their money anyway. I hope you have a beautiful Christmas. I hope the catering is delicious and the decorations are elegant. I hope when you open your expensive gifts and take your perfect photos, you remember that you paid for it with money from the daughter you called a loser. Enjoy your party. Amara." I hit send at exactly 4 p.m. on Christmas Eve. Then I turned off my phone. I didn't want to see the responses. Not yet. I wanted them to stew in it. I wanted Christmas Eve dinner to be awkward. I wanted my mother to check her phone during dessert and see her email notifications exploding. I wanted Fatima to watch as aunts and uncles read about her financial problems. I wanted Khalil to feel every eye in the room wondering about that settlement. I wanted them to spend Christmas morning knowing that everyone knew. Instead of checking my phone, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to midnight mass. I'm not particularly religious, but I needed somewhere quiet. Somewhere with soft light and organ music and the smell of incense. I sat in the back pew while families filed in, parents hushing excited children, everyone dressed in their holiday best. The service was beautiful. Traditional. During the sermon, the priest talked about Jesus being born in a stable, rejected by the inn, surrounded not by wealth but by shepherds and animals. Sometimes, he said, the people society rejects are the ones living closest to truth. I felt tears slide down my cheeks. Not from anger anymore but from relief. I'd done it. I'd told the truth. Whatever happened next, I'd spoken. After the service, I walked home through cold streets decorated with lights. Couples hurried past carrying last-minute gifts. I could hear laughter from houses, smell cinnamon and pine. When I got home, Rumi greeted me with an indignant meow for being left alone. I fed him, made tea and finally, turned on my phone. 127 missed messages. 72 missed calls. I took a sip of tea and started reading. The first messages were from Fatima. 23 in a row, escalating from confusion to fury. What the hell is this email? You had no right. You're a liar. How dare you air private family business? Everyone is asking me questions. Mom and Dad are furious. You've ruined Christmas. I will never forgive you for this. I deleted them without responding. Khalil sent only one message. You're dead to me. I deleted that too. Zainab's message came from WhatsApp, timestamped from Germany. I always knew you were jealous. Now everyone sees it. Delete. But then other messages started appearing. Cousins I barely knew. Aunts and uncles. Family friends. Amara, I had no idea they treated you this way. I'm so sorry. Your email was painful to read. I hope you're okay. I always thought your work was incredible. Don't let them make you feel small. That took courage. I'm proud of you. And then from my uncle Ibrahim, my father's older brother. Your father called me tonight, angry about your email. I told him he should be ashamed. You're the best of all of them, Amara. I hope you know that. I read that message 3 times, tears blurring the screen. My parents called 17 times. I didn't answer. They didn't leave voicemails until the 18th call. My mother's voice came through the speaker, tight and controlled. Amara, what you did was unforgivable. You embarrassed this entire family. Your father and I are devastated. We raised you better than this. You will call me back immediately and apologize to everyone. I saved the voicemail but didn't respond. The next call came from my father. His voice was different, not angry but cold. Distant. You are no longer welcome in this family. Do not contact us. Do not come to family events. You made your choice. I saved that one too. Christmas morning I woke up to silence. No frantic messages. No angry calls. Just quiet. I made coffee, fed Rumi and opened my laptop to check email. There were 63 new messages but one stood out. The sender was marked confidential, and the subject line read, your situation. I almost deleted it as spam but something made me open it. Dear Ms. Amara. My name is Yusuf Okafor. I am a family friend of your uncle Ibrahim. He shared your story with me with your permission, he assured me, though I understand if you'd prefer privacy. I run a private practice specializing in childhood trauma therapy here in the city. We've been looking for someone with your expertise and passion. After hearing about your work and your character, I'd like to offer you a position. The salary is $89,000, full benefits, and we maintain a strict work-life balance. If you're interested, please call me at the number below. Regardless of your decision, I wanted you to know that your work matters. Some of us see it. Best regards, Dr. Yusuf Okafor. I stared at the screen for a full minute. Then I started laughing. Not cruel laughter but the kind that comes from pure disbelief. They called me a loser. And somehow, in the middle of my revenge, the universe had sent me a job offer that nearly doubled my salary. I called Dr. Okafor that afternoon. He was warm, professional, and genuinely impressed by my background. We talked for an hour about treatment approaches, patient care, and the importance of dignity in healing. At the end, he said something that made my throat tight. Your family may not see your worth, Amara. But those of us who do this work know that healing children is sacred. You're not a loser. You're a warrior. I accepted the position on the spot. The rest of Christmas passed quietly. I video called Uncle Ibrahim, who told me the party had been tense and uncomfortable, that Fatima had left early in tears, that people kept whispering. Good, I said. They should be uncomfortable. Your father is stubborn, Ibrahim said gently. But he'll come around. Maybe, I said. But I'm not waiting for him to. Between Christmas and New Year's I received more messages. Some angry, some supportive, many confused. My cousin Amina, one of the younger ones, only 19, sent me a long message about how she'd always been afraid of not living up to the family's expectations. You showed me that it's okay to be different, she wrote. Thank you. On New Year's Eve I was packing up my apartment, preparing for the move to a better place closer to my new job, when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me pick up. Hello. Amara. My mother's voice, but different. Quieter. Can we talk? I sat down slowly. I'm listening. What you said in that email. About us taking your money and calling you a loser. Your father and I, we didn't see it that way. We thought we were encouraging you to do better. By excluding me? Silence. Then, Fatima wrote that message. We didn't know. But you agreed with it. You said, let's keep it elegant. You meant, let's keep Amara out. More silence. Finally, we made a mistake. You made a choice, I corrected. And now you're dealing with the consequences. Everyone in the family is talking about us. Your father is humiliated. Good. She inhaled sharply. Amara. Mom, you taught me that family is about more than blood. It's about respect, love, support. You took my money and called me worthless. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to think about what you did. Really think about it. And when you're ready to apologize, actually apologize, not just ask me to smooth things over. We'll talk. Until then, enjoy your elegant life. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I felt lighter than I had in years. 6 months passed. I moved into a better apartment with a balcony and enough space for Rumi to sprawl in sunbeams. My new job was challenging but rewarding, my colleagues respectful and kind. I didn't hear from my parents. Fatima blocked me on everything. Khalil never reached out. Zainab sent one message, hope you're happy now, which I ignored. But Uncle Ibrahim stayed in touch. Cousin Amina visited twice. Other relatives sent occasional messages of support. I thought that was the end of the story. Revenge served, consequences delivered, life moved on. Then, in June, I received a package. No return address, just my name written in careful handwriting. Inside was a framed photograph. The one from my childhood Christmas, all of us together before everything broke apart. Below it, a note in my father's handwriting. Amara, your mother and I are learning what we should have known all along. You were right. We measured worth in the wrong currency. We can't undo what we did. We can't erase those words. But we're trying to understand them. Your sister's marriage is ending. Khalil is in therapy. Zainab moved back home from Germany. The success we worship turned out to be as fragile as you said. Meanwhile, Ibrahim tells us you're thriving. That you're helping children, making a real difference, living with integrity. You were never the loser, Amara. We were. We don't expect forgiveness. We don't even deserve a response. But we needed you to know that you were right about everything. That I held the note for a long time, tears dripping onto the paper. I didn't frame it. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, I put it in a drawer and went back to work. Because the truth is, revenge isn't about making people suffer. It's about refusing to let their cruelty define you. They called me a loser. I proved them wrong by building a life I'm proud of. And that, in the end, is the best revenge of all. They thought excluding me would break me. Instead, it freed me. If you've ever been called a loser by the people who should have loved you, know this. Their judgment says everything about them and nothing about you. Hit subscribe if this story hits home. Drop a comment about a time you proved the doubters wrong. Sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to break.